Have you ever had more work that was due today than could reasonably be done in that same day? Have you ever had to bump a client ticket and have them get irritated because you had to bump one of their tickets to the next day? How do you manage that? How do you handle those kind of things? Right? That's the real question. And for me, I think that one of the biggest answers is ticket budgeting. But how do you do a ticket budget? How do you handle that appropriately? How do you set that up for success? Well, that's what we're talking about today, ticket budgets. My name is Adam Hanneman. Welcome to Ramblings of a Geek. I've been in the MSP space for a better part of a couple decades, and I've worked on a number of different service teams, and we've worked through ticket budgets in a number of different ways and occasions, and that's what we're talking about today, is all about ticket budgeting to set appropriate expectations with your clients. The idea for today's video came about when my son was working for an auto repair shop. This auto repair shop had a service manager that would routinely oversubscribe the technicians that basically give them 10 or 11 hours worth of work for an 8-hour day. And he was kind of lamenting that he was kind of frustrated about the whole situation, because what would happen was a client would come in and they were going to wait for their car or something, and they said, yeah, we'll get this done today, no problem, not paying attention to the fact that there was already a pretty good sized backlog. And that was a big challenge for that particular repair shop. And it kind of led me back to my days in kind of early on in my management career on the MSP side of the world, of thinking about trying to figure out how to deal with that with our clients and things that we would run into over there. And the biggest thing for me was, let's do some ticket budgeting. Let's think about this budget. And as I'm talking to my son about this thing, I'm like, yeah, this is clearly not an MSP only thing, not a auto repair shop only thing. It's probably a service company in general thing, where your ticket budgets are, or ticket budgets or work budgets or whatever, are not honored or not defined very well. And then all of a sudden, you can't possibly get the work done for your clients as expected. So when you think about ticket budgets, you need to think about a number of different things. The first piece is resource capacity. You have to understand how many resources you have that given day, or any given day, any given week, any given month, right? Those are things you need to think about. Now, for the most part, ticket budgets and budgeting of work is kind of a day-by-day kind of a thing, but it's also not necessarily a bad to think about this in a week-by-week kind of thing, especially if you've got people on vacation and those kinds of things, right? So right now we're in the summer, people are on vacation here and there, and many MSPs are running a little bit light on the staff. Now, for them, hopefully, many of their clients are also on vacation, which maybe reduces some of the pressure on the MSP. But thinking about your resource capacity is really important, and understanding what that actually looks like is really important as well, right? So let's say you have 3 technicians. That means you have somewhere in that 19 to 19 and a half hours a day, right? Because if you think about my gross margin video, we talk about 6.5 hours a day as kind of that metric for technicians to be able to be billing that much time in a particular day on a regular basis. So if you've got 19 and a half hours of potential work that day, or resource time that day, you can't go schedule more than 19 and a half. And really, you probably shouldn't even schedule 19 and a half because things are going to come up throughout the day, right? So when you think about what your team can realistically get done, that's a really important piece. But the other thing is that if you've got multiple levels of technicians, right, you don't want a level 3 working on level 1 stuff and vice versa, because that kind of eats into resource time here, there, and everywhere as well. So it's really about making sure that you have a really good idea about who's on your team, what they can reliably get done in a day, and making sure that that's well communicated to the service manager, dispatcher, the person that's kind of running the service team, but also making sure that someone's holding your team accountable for getting appropriate amount of work done throughout the day. In addition to all of these videos that I do, I actually do a newsletter about once a month. So if you want to sign up for my newsletter where you get to hear a little bit more from me about kind of whatever's going on in my world, go ahead and find the link down below in the description of this video, and also drop it on the screen as well. Just having good resource timing isn't the full picture, right? It's not the only thing that you need in order to budget tickets, because you also need to make sure that your team is logging their time accurately, right? This isn't the first time nor the last time you're going to hear me talk about logging your time on time every time, right? These are really important things to do, right? Documentation and time entry needs to be just part of the job, part of the ticket work that you're doing, part of the project that you're doing. This can't be a situation where you say, you know what, I'm going to log my time tonight when I get home, right? Yeah, you could probably do that and get accurate-ish, but if you are struggling at all with some of that kind of mismatched expectations with your clients from a timing perspective, and you want to get this budgeting thing dialed in, you need to have far, far more accurate time entry, so that way you understand how long things actually take. So that's a really important piece of making sure that you understand what this looks like. And sometimes MSPs will say, well, my team, we're not really this, time logging kind of a thing. I said, well, yeah, but really probably should be, right? This is an important thing that you get to eventually. You don't have to have it perfectly done today, but the better you do with this early, and the better you would do with this ongoing, the better off everybody is, because you understand far more better what's going on. Your clients actually get better service because tickets are updated on a regular basis, and so that way, if they ever have to call in about follow up on an issue, things are there. And frankly, the technicians that say, I'm going to log my time at night, probably are working more hours than they probably should anyway, right? Because time entry should be part of the job. You should give your techs the ability to log their time, whether it's on the help desk or a service desk situation or out in the field doing projects. It should be just part of the work that they do. And so when you build out your ticket budgets, you really want to make sure that you include time to complete the ticket in the ticket budget, right? You don't want to say that if I'm going to create a ticket budget for a password reset and I know it's going to take about 10 minutes, I'm not going to make the ticket budget be 10 minutes. I might make it 12 or 15 to make sure that there's time to actually properly add time into this ticket and kind of get that ticket moved on into the next spot, so that way people aren't always kind of fighting from behind. Another important thing to think about when it comes to time entry is that you can't make time entry be an afterthought, right? You can't just let that be a thing that you do when you get around to it, because your agreement profitability requires that. If you're doing any kind of time and materials, it's important to make sure that you have that in there accurately. If you're doing projects, all of that stuff requires accurate time entry, especially for your profitability and margin within your organization anyway. So time entry is sort of central to a lot of the kind of the operational efficiencies that anybody is going to talk to, whether you talk to me or anybody else in the space. So getting good time entries in is a really important piece, not just for this budgeting thing anyway. I hope you're getting some value out of this video. If you are, hit the like button for me, please. The next piece with this is all about the how, right? We talk about the why, we talk about the what. Well, let's talk about how you can implement some ticket budgeting, right? So the first thing you need to do is run a report based on a type, subtype, and item, or whatever your ticketing system says. Presuming that your team has done accurate time entry and logged tickets appropriately, you should have a sort of a normalized list of things that are in the type, subtype, and item. You're basically codifying your tickets in different ways. And look for trends, right? And you're typically going to be able to know that, a password reset's probably a 10-minute thing, so you give them 12 to 15 minutes to make sure they get the time entry in, and give them a little bit of slush space just in case something runs a little long, right? Your new user creation should be a thing that you do on a pretty regular basis. User termination, same kind of thing, right? Group management, all of the stuff that level ones do should be pretty well budgeted, especially for those common rote tasks. And so you kind of you build the budgets for all of those different tickets, right? And make it the obvious stuff first, right? And use what your thoughts are as it relates to some of these rote tasks, and validate that against that report to make sure that you're on the same page. Presuming you are, you're in a pretty good spot. And then so you set those ticket budgets that way, and then work your way through kind of the other pieces. Now here's the thing with this ticket budgeting stuff. One, I think it's really important that you do it and you do it well. But the other piece is that you can do this incrementally, right? You don't have to get this all figured out on day one. This isn't like I'm going to get this done on a Monday kind of a thing, or a Friday kind of a thing, or whatever. This could be we're going to chip away at it. We're going to add some stuff, and then over time, your ticket budgeting, work gets done pretty well. And here's the thing: is now you have to review it on a relatively regular basis, right? This could be a thing your dispatcher does, a service manager can do it, a team lead, a good tech can do it as well. But you could validate the time spent on tickets versus ticket budgets in a number of different ways. First thing to do is on your time reviews, right? If you're going to do weekly timesheet review, which is the thing I highly recommend, you could sanity check some things there. If you do daily timesheet review, which I also recommend that you do, you could sanity check it there a little bit. You could run a report and do some checking on a regular basis. All of those things are good opportunities to kind of incrementally move the budget forward. And also give your technicians raise their hand to say, hey, you know what? I think the budget on this ticket type is wrong, right? Sometimes we think things make sense in one way, shape, or form, and your technicians say, yeah, actually this is not accurate. And if that's the case, then you validate it, you check in with them, make sure that everyone's on the same page, and then update the budget and move on, right? That's a really important piece, because setting the budgets is the first step in the opportunity for you to be able to kind of actually live by these budgets. Do me a quick favor, drop a comment in this video about how you use budgets in your MSP. Is this a thing that resonates with you, doesn't resonate with you? Do you have questions? I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. You might say now, okay, I got budget set, Now what, right? So the next piece is you want to make the work visible, or as visible as you possibly can. And I like making work visible for a number of reasons. One, it allows you to see what's going on at a glance, right? So if you fill up your technician's schedules with tickets, right, or whatever that looks like, whether it's a bunch of 15-minute things, or whether it's creating a user account or two in an hour, or setting up a machine which maybe takes you a couple hours or half a day, or whatever that looks like. Look, every MSP is a little different as far as how long individual things take, but making the work visible by having it on their calendar allows you and your dispatcher and service managers and the technicians to see really what's going on, right? If you've got 11 hours, on someone's calendar for a day, they're not getting 11 hours worth of stuff done. Now, they might be able to work a little more efficiently, right? Maybe they get a couple users done a little bit faster, or maybe they're doing a couple machine replacements. You can do a little bit of work in parallel, because that's a thing that you can do here and there. You can't book 11 hours worth of work on someone's calendar on a regular basis and expect them to not burn out, especially if those budgets are at all accurate, right? So it's important to, one, make the work visible so that way you understand what's going on, but two, sanity check it, make sure things are going well. Give the techs an opportunity to raise their hand and say, hey, I need a break, or hey, this is going to take longer. I know this is going to take longer, so I need, instead of an hour on this, I need an hour and a half, or instead of 15 minutes, I need 45 minutes, or whatever that looks like. Give your techs the ability to raise their hand and say, hey, after digging into this thing, this is going to take some extra time, and so you can adjust things appropriately. And here's the thing, is that when you're kind of dispatching tickets out, you want to make sure you're dispatching by urgency and priority, and making sure that you're getting the right work done at the right time, and making sure that it's the work that your clients are going to care about the most, right? So sometimes something isn't urgent or terribly important, but maybe it's been sitting out there for a couple days or something. Sometimes those just have to get done, but maybe that's not the very first thing they work on on any given day or whatever. Hopefully by now you've seen how ticket budgets can help your MSP. I think when you do your ticket budgeting well, along with your time entry and documentation, all those other kind of core operational components well, and you manage it and iterate it, make it better over time, everybody wins. Your clients win, your techs win, the overall service wins, and you'll likely be a little bit more profitable for all that effort. If you'd like to hear us a little bit more about dispatch, I'm going to go ahead and drop a video up here and talk a little bit about service management over here as well. Thanks for coming on this ramble with me, and hope to see you on the next one.